Hello and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John Wan, and of course this podcast is brought to you by Orgaretcha.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgaretcha.com and get the best gains, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And if you're liking what you're seeing, like and subscribe on YouTube because the sport's been absolutely brilliant so far. And today I'm joined by Kilcoo footballer Paul Devlin to talk about the Kilcoo journey, the All-Ireland run, the Ulster success, Mickey Moran, and lots more. So delighted to have Paul on a lovely Friday. Paul, how are you keeping?
Too bad, John. It's good to be on. It's good to get chatting to you.
Great stuff. You're taking this very seriously. You took today off just because of it.
Oh, well, it's Good Friday at the same time, so I'll take it easy today, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. No doubt you need a few days off to recover from the All-Ireland success. So how's life, Paul? Obviously, Kilcoo are All-Ireland champions for 2022. Life's good, I'd say.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Listen, after All-Ireland, we enjoyed ourselves as much as we could, obviously. It was a real historic time for the club, so no, we embraced it. It was a great journey for everybody involved with the club and the community. And now it's back down to nitty gritty, back down playing in league football and again the local teams in town. So there's no rest for the wicked, as I say.
Definitely. And obviously, you're back playing league football, and you had a game last night. So, I suppose back down to earth, kind of like, it's not Croke Park anymore. You might get Croke Park in another year's time, but back down to nitty gritty. Bit of abuse here and there, I'd say. So it's fairly sobering, Paul, I'd say.
Yeah, listen, there's teams that have set out their stall. You go to play again, the All-Ireland champions. You kind of want to lift your game as such. So. We have to raise the bar even more to make sure we're well prepped and at our best, because there's every team in Ireland now going to try and take us.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. And I suppose what's it all been like, Paul? Obviously, we could kind of touch on the All-Ireland success. It was a fantastic win against Kilmacud Crokes at Croke Park about a month and a half ago at this stage, and obviously it's great Mickey Moran leading us to glory. And I suppose we could touch on Mickey Moran first. He stepped down as Kilcoo manager a couple of weeks ago, and obviously big news around the country because Mickey Moran's probably one of the best managers the G has ever produced, Paul. So I suppose the outcry from that, or like the emotion from that, because what a man, and he left such a legacy with us.
Okay, listen, Mickey, he provided so much to the club and to us as a group of players. He was like a grandfather figure that everybody turned to and could get comfort from, and the way he spoke, treated every player was a different level. Like, he could approach you at any wee time, and he wasn't a man that would be shouting and roaring at boys. He would normally just in training sections maybe just walk over behind you and put an arm around you and maybe say one or two wee words, and that could just spring you into action, and maybe it's just something that maybe you needed. So listen, his record speaks for itself, and it's the things he's done for the players, it's been. And he's always in our debt to what he's brought us our best days of our lives in our football careers, and not a one bad word that anybody could possibly say about Mickey Moran. He's an absolute gentleman and credit that he deserves, and he never took any credit in terms of the media as such. Like, he was just so humble and stayed away from all that, and it just shows the type of man that he is. But now he has he came in 3 years ago and brought Kilcoo to a different level, and he's put our bodies he's brought our bodies places that we never thought we'd actually get them. And if there's any feeling in the world after winning All Ireland and seeing Mickey going up them steps, lift a couple of two boys, it was incredible, yeah.
100%. And obviously, Paul, what was it like to be managed by Mickey? Because obviously, like, he is probably one of the best managers we've seen in the game. So when you're training, when you're going about the games, doing everything, you're going to give it your best. You're going to try to be at your best, because look, when he's watching you, when the likes of Conor Gilligan's watching you, you're going to be at your best. So what was it like to be managed by him? Because you say there is that kind of father figure from Mickey. He didn't take much of the media attention. So realistically, Paul, it's like a good relationship having with a girl. He's a good man to have about the place.
Yeah, what I noticed with him in training, he done a lot of observing. So like, maybe you're doing the train session and you're involved in it, but like, you're all getting hands on and getting coaching points from the likes of Richie and Conliffe. They were more or less giving the feedback, while Mickey was always a standoff. So like, you never really seen him as such, but he was obviously watching more than what you thought he was watching. So any time that he spoke, like, there wasn't a pin drop. He just took everything on board, because like, you know, whatever Mickey says is near enough like it's the gospel, you know.
Yeah.
But he always tried for us to get perfection, and you never wanted to. There was no there's the ceiling, and everybody would go through a ceiling to get to the bar that he wanted you to be at, and anything that, like Mickey always said, like play the way you train. So like anytime it was so simple and effective, like, but he always emphasized that the way you train is obviously going to be the way you play. And there's some training sessions we had in house, and it was a ding dong. Like boys were just amping each other, fighting for places. Like the A versus B games were just like any competitive game you could possibly see. It's probably our toughest games we had come up each game, because there's fellas pushing on, and Mickey was maybe chatting these boys that maybe were on the fringes to push on, and we were like really getting tested. So he just brought that kind of persona that everybody could be better than what they are, and if everybody's doing better than what they are, then the team is obviously going to be better. So it was great whenever he was down on the pitch chatting out there, but like he speaks for himself, and like he wouldn't just rant on. Maybe he only say maybe one liner, and then he walked out of the huddle, and everybody just took it on board, as if like Mickey doesn't speak too often, but whenever he speaks, you're always,
you need to listen. Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, no, 100%, and obviously his aura, I suppose, really kind of stood out. Kind of touching on like the success he did have, which is like the Ulster titles, and like God, they are very hard to come by. Never mind winning an All Ireland title. That's probably like for another day's talk, Paul. But like the Ulster journey is like being led by Conlett and Mickey Moran as well, Paul. Like it's special times, you know. Like he really is such like an inspirational man. He's managed so many counties. He's like been involved with so many clubs. So it's just look. Let's be honest, but it was just great to be managed by him.
Oh yeah, listen. Like I'd always say, like he's probably the greatest coach I've been managed by, and probably ever will be. It's just like even along the line, John. Like if you're on a supporter watching him, like he doesn't flinch at all. He's never really getting involved with with anybody. He kind of just stands in his own, and I feel that kind of reflects the team and the players themselves, because since he's come in, like our discipline has been well down in terms of getting sent off and back cards and stuff like that. There, he has brought just a different type of morale to the setup, and listen, everything that he's given us, like we're trying to now, like Thomas and Richie are obviously trying to take a leaf out of Mickey's book and trying to keep that morale going with the players there at the minute. But us as older players in the squad and the boys that were put involved in Ireland, we're trying to make sure that the young ones coming through kind of have that same mentality as such, because he has installed a kind of new way of winning things, and maybe the way Cocoon play with the fast hands, through the hands, and keeping possession-based football. Like it worked for us to win All Ireland, so like we're kind of saying, why would you change someone that won us so much success, you know? So we're trying to bring that down through different teams and boys coming through as well.
Interesting to kind of hear your perspective on that as well, Paul. Like it's probably a side question, but you know, the kind of calm, relaxed approach from a manager alongside him, because like you see so many underage games, you see it all over the country, like lads just going absolutely haywire along the line. Like your probably take on maybe the manager's relaxed approach, like to Jim McGuinness, Jim Gavin, successful managers, obviously Mickey Moore, calm along the line. We see so many other managers just losing the head. So I suppose that approach, Paul, you know, you like it?
I do like it. I just feel that there's no panic, and you could see it on the field. Like games that we were into our collar, and that there was like in our play, we kind of worked the ball to certain positions and we're patient with the ball till we get the right person to take the score. And I felt like that obviously reflects along the line too. If he was going mental along the line and us players on the field were noticing this, then we were probably thinking, someone's wrong here. Like he's going mad. We're not doing something right. While I see him come in the latter stage of the game, maybe 2-3 minutes left. He still had faith, and Mickey's not panicking here. That listen, we don't need a panic as such. And like there was, like we went to extra time 4 times in All Ireland run, and we came through it sailing. So things like that, I always feel like that it kind of reflects the team, what way the manager handles themselves along the line.
Mm-hmm. You must have had full time back the draw. They just.
Anyway, you got your money's worth out of it.
Like. No wonder you can take these Fridays off. Brilliant stuff. And I suppose lastly on Mickey, Paul, he's obviously gone on into the sunset, really. I'm presuming that's his last job. Maybe he's doing a bit of underage coaching, last high profile job. We don't know. He probably, if he's fit and healthy, who knows if he's still going on. But looking back, Paul, what a man, what a legacy, and forever thankful.
Yeah, well, there's actually one moment that actually stands out for me. Mickey was probably the All-Ireland final at half-time. Half-time we come in and like we weren't playing our best at all. We probably missed 1-5, I'd say, in the first half. And half-time, and you know yourself that we weren't playing the level that we could on. We weren't taking the chances, especially of all days in the All-Ireland final. Mickey would always come in and be very calmly, quietly spoken, but that was the first time that Mickey had his voice raised, and everybody was just like more or less like in awe, as if like he never raised his voice. But it was the first time that he more or less told us a book about ideas, more or less saying like you aren't playing the way he's been playing, and everybody took on board what he's saying, and like just the way that he came across and that changed him. He kind of said you would go through a wall for the man after the way he spoke to us. You're just thinking we can't let this man down. Like, Connor always said in the meeting beforehand, like we kind of knew Mickey was going to be his last year, but we didn't want to believe it. And obviously we have Elaine, and he just says, we want Mickey to leave Cuckoo happy. Not that happily and happy that he's won his All-Ireland, and we're just so thankful we could provide that for him. Like people saying that we done it for ourselves and stuff like that, and every player could possibly say, listen, there was a part of it that we done it for Mickey as well.
Yeah, no, 100%, Paul, 100%. And I suppose touching on the year that he did have, obviously the Ulster final, probably against Derry Connolly, probably didn't set the world alight, but it was probably a defensive kind of setup from Derry Connolly. But look, you were probably just happy to get over the line in the final and just get your hands back in the Ulster Cup. And I suppose the All Ireland was definitely a massive aim towards it. So I suppose the Ulster campaign, Paul, what did you make of it all? Obviously, it's very stiff tests in it, and obviously it's going to prepare you for the All Ireland series. So what was the verdict on it all?
We prepared for every game. We watched Ramore first, and they obviously had a replay in the Calvin final, and they looked very, very sharp.
Oh, Rammer, yeah.
I thought they played very well in the final, and they did give us a scare in the first 15 minutes, and definitely with the goal from McAvoy. But it was a big learning curve. Like it was good to get back into the Ulster campaign because it was 2 years without it. You know what I mean, with the COVID. But it was a good learning curve. That game it taught us a few things where we need to improve on.
We're still haunted from that game, Paul, by the way. I'm not for Rob Rammer, but the Cavan GAA fans were still a bit spooked from that game. Sorry.
No, we definitely found out a few things that we need to improve on going into the Glen game, which a lot of people tipped Glen probably to take us in the Ulster semi-final. But probably that was a tough game for the likes of Mickey in terms of that he's from Glen and the whole persona about him and the club and whatnot, and us as a player, we kind of wanted to make sure that Mickey had nothing to worry about, that we were prepared as best we could to take them. But we felt a wee bit that we were coming in that game underdogs as such after it was only Glen's kind of first Ulster campaign. So we kind of took it on ourselves as like, listen, if anybody knows Cuckoo, like we're not just going to lie down and get turned over. So it was a really titanic game. It was very cagey and stuff. Learned a lot from it. It definitely was a game that we needed under our belt going forward. And we were just lucky enough to get the goal whenever we did it in extra time to get us over the line.
Definitely, 100%. Kind of starting the
Ulster fan, you said about Derry Connolly, like
a
couple of years ago in 2019, whenever we won the Ulster title, they actually should have beat us that day, only for the missed opportunity. So Derry Connolly's no bad side, and to be honest, that Ulster final doesn't reflect how good a side Derry Connolly are. Like they're very successful in Cavan, and no doubt they'll be coming again.
Oh yeah, no, 100%, Paul, 100%. Obviously, kind of starting off like the Ulster campaign, and like obviously, Rammer here in Cavan, like he's probably might have just seen the county final, and that was probably it. So, kind of preparation even for that game, because Rammer probably obviously they were the standout team in the Cavan Senior Championship this year by a bit of a distance. I know Gowan in the final definitely did put it up to them, but that kind of preparation for that game, because obviously Rammer did have very kind of exciting forwards. But I suppose your game plan. We obviously seen it. We've seen these last couple of years watching these closely. Break with power, break with speed. The Brannigans just look like they'd run a Cheltenham, Paul, at this stage. But the preparation going into the Rammer game, what were you thinking?
It was a wee bit unknown. To be fair, it was a wee bit unknown. We kind of picked out obviously players that obviously needed marshal and stuff like that there, but we knew that they knew us a lot more than what that we would know of them. So we kind of had it prepared as if like listen, every game that you have to take it as if it's your last and it's the final, because you never know, like you might get an opportunity like again. So every game is such, even for Rammer, like we were like the first 15 minutes we were off the boil, and it wasn't until maybe ball in the back of our net that we kind of woke up and said, listen, we're in a game here. This isn't just an easy task ahead. So we did have to play to a certain level to get over the line again. Remember, listen, there's no game as easy. Yourself watching Ulster Club football, there's no game an easy game. You have to be at your best, and you can't go in complacent against any team.
100%, Paul. And obviously moving on to Glenmahara, and we obviously knew about the form of Conor Glass going into it, and probably one of the most exciting prospects in Ireland at the minute. He's just an absolutely towering midfielder. Like, the power of Derry football seems to be rising at the minute, Paul, so much to probably Down's discussed, I'd imagine. But the preparation going into that game, because it was a real 50-50.
It was a titanic battle. Like it was probably up there with the All-Ireland final in terms of the level of intensity that was involved in the game. Like there was nobody wanting to make a mistake, and the error that both teams made, they were punished, and that's the kind of way it went. And second half, it kind of opened up for both teams to really go at it. And to be fair, to be honest, coming in the extra time, I think we went a point down, and there was a wee doubt creeping into my head, thinking, are we going to get back from this? And then no harm to the Glen goalkeeper. He's just unfortunate the way the kick out obviously landed to me and turned over, and Jerome Johnson does what Jerome Johnson does. He finds it back of the net, and that was the killer blow that got us over the line. But no doubt, like, Glen are a fantastic young side, and very hard not to see them coming back into Ulster again.
100%. And obviously the Ulster final down in Armagh against Derry Connolly. Probably not a game for the ages, but I think you were probably just delighted to get over the line once again, get your hand on Ulster Championship Cup, and obviously move on to the All-Ireland series. So I suppose that game itself, Paul, the very defensive minded display by Derry Connolly, but the one thing you would have to say, it does take serious result to get over the line in them games, figure out wee passages, break lines, break defences. So realistically, it was a poor game of football, but the resolve and the desire to show in that game, it was great, because obviously good preparation for the All-Ireland series.
Yeah, it was, and they did, like Derry Gunn. I didn't think they were going to set up as defensive as they did, but it just shows the appreciation they give to us in terms of our counter-attacking pace and the way we could work through defences. But they did set up defensive, and we were patient. There was no defence is easy to break down, especially whenever there's so many behind the ball. But we did work very, very well in terms of getting the first goal was so crucial, because then it did bite Derry Connolly out a wee bit and did create more space for us to get into. But listen, maybe the preparation is maybe 2 weeks before the game to go defensively. Yourself, it takes a long time to prepare a team to make sure that everything is right in terms of defensive setup. But listen, there's no doubt that they'll be back. There's serious talent in Derry Connolly, and there's a lot of servants there, like Jones and stuff like that there, who on an odd day could turn us over. So they'll learn a lot from that there. I'm sure to stick in their minds, just like the All-Ireland final 2020 again, Cork, and stuck in our minds. So no doubt they'll be back at it again.
Yeah, like, I suppose the mindset after winning the Ulster Cup down in Armagh, and obviously, it was scenes of jubilation, and obviously great to get over the line, but was your mindset, and obviously maybe looking on from the TV, did you kind of think, right, we've bigger fish to fry here, it was great to get your hands on it, but do you think it, right, we know this isn't the end of this journey, Mickey Moran's still here, we still have the players, so was the mindset, right, this isn't definitely not going to be the end of the year, because we could be walking up the steps of the Hogan stand in a couple of weeks' time?
You don't want to think that way. You don't really want to put that in your mindset. But yourself, there's actually a training session maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more, and actually Jim McGuinness took it. I think he left Donegal at the time, and we just went with him. And there's one thing that stuck out in my mind with him that he said. We were in a huddle with him, and he said about we're preparing for the Down Champions, I think it was. And he said, do you ever look ahead in terms of seeing what odds you are maybe for All-Ireland? I was kind of saying, no, I will do it. We have a Down Challenge to prepare for. So then I actually did then go up and look to see what odds we were, and he did say, why would you not look? you have every chance the same as everybody else. Why would you not look ahead and see why can you not do it? And that kind of stuck out with me in saying that that's the way he obviously took it away, looking at Donegal. Why would you not believe that you can do it? And that always stuck out in my mind. Every year I maybe think, wonder what odds we are, like why is people doubting us and stuff like that, or why can we not do it? And I always, every year now, I have a wee glance to see how far we away, but then I'd always think in terms of the next game. But just that wee mindset of like, why could we not do it?
Yeah.
And all that belief that you felt that around the team, then players maybe start to believe, why can we not? But yeah, you have to prepare every game as it comes. Like there was good preparation for the All Ireland semi-final against Finboard, but at the same time, you're probably thinking, we got tested a bit more. Like, could Derry only tested some of our areas maybe we need to improve on, because like obviously Finboard were coming out and also Boston Stacks, who really had a titanic battle down in Florida long day. So they were very formidable to say whenever we come up against them, whenever we're prepping for them and analysing them, that you could see that big players who could play plenty of football as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, it was just kind of interesting to get your mindset on it, because I felt after that game like bigger fish to fry. And I suppose kind of like each game you probably did go in as favourites for a lot of the games. Maybe the Derry Galway game, they also quite close and bits and pieces like that. But that kind of favourite tag going into most games, Paul, and obviously you were kind of in the back of your mind maybe checking how far away you were. Did you deal with that, or did you just kind of stay away from the media, them kind of outlets?
Yeah, the media coming up the big week, and like most of our players wouldn't really want to get involved in such medias, because you know yourself, like it's cliche, if you're in the papers and you're getting talked about, you're going to be marshalled well, and then maybe a player you mark and see that you're talking in the paper and they want to nip you on the bud as such, and you're putting more expectations and more weight on your shoulders to perform that level. While if you're kind of subtle and going into the game low key, kind of perform better and there's less pressure on your shoulders as such. Most of our players would think that in that mindset. Obviously, we would always send comments to do most of the media talking for us, but I personally don't really like doing that kind of thing. Just putting more pressure and more wanting to perform at the level that you need to perform at, rather than maybe talking to media about what way you're going to play the game, rather than playing the game itself.
Conor isn't shy of the media anyway.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. 100%. And obviously, moving on to the All Ireland series of Finbars, like it did go to extra time. It was an absolutely rip-roaring clash. It had it all. It had mistakes. It had this. It had that. So that game against the Bars, like probably ideal preparation for the All Ireland final, really, Paul. Because look, that was a well-seasoned Cork outfit. With, like, there's obviously a lot of them lads on the Cork panel as we speak. So, it was a great encounter.
Oh yeah, it was up on all levels. There's a long level from the Ulster campaign. It was like you were tested in all areas of the field, and like the Finboards were so strong, and especially earlier on, like we got a good start in terms of goal now, but after that 1-2, 1-1 was scored, Finboards really pinned us to our collar in terms of kickouts and turned us over for a goal chance and that, and they ended up picking up a lead, and it was end to end, and the intensity they brought to the game in terms of the physicality was something that we never really had throughout the campaign up to then, and it really was a real learning curve for a lot of our boys. Even coming to the latter stages of that game, see that we had to bring it up another notch in terms of breaking lines and trying to find the scores, and we were unfortunate obviously with the free that won the end, obviously whatever happened, but we took it on the chin and bringing into extra time. We actually did say about we learned from Finn, gave us a lesson, Croke Park and Ireland final previously, about throwing the ball in extra time and making the odd team maybe run after us and chase the ball. You know yourself, whenever you don't have the ball, your energy starts to run out, and while you're on the ball, you don't even think about the energy you're wasting. So we kind of try to take control of the whole of extra time, and it worked in our favour.
No, definitely. A kind of game like that, like the legs are probably just getting a bit juiced, and obviously them runs in January and February and November kind of pay dividends in the end, Paul, really to kind of keep the show on the road, I suppose. So like that game like that, to get a win like that is just probably months and months dedication. You're thinking during that game, right, lads, this is why we put the slug in, this is why we want to be here. It's Portlaoise, it's in front of the cameras. Everyone wants to see us. So like days like that to get over the line in a game like that, that's why you play football, Paul.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like after games, you're thinking like all them runs and putting your body and being obsessed with winning and wanting to do well for the team. And like I remember training sessions at the start of last year, never thinking that I was going to get to All Ireland, but like I remember saying to myself, like if this isn't good enough to do so well this year, and you're putting your body to places that you wouldn't even think of doing, you're completely obsessed and making sure that you're up to the level and up to the scratch to performing well. And like after them big games and playing in front of big crowds, like that wee small feeling after you're winning, it only maybe lasts about 10-15 seconds. That time you have yourself, but you're saying to yourself, geez, that them runs were definitely worth it, all them training sessions. But just that 15-second feeling, if you could bottle up and keep it, like it'd been unreal. But yeah, it definitely is worth it.
Yeah. The game itself, obviously, like it did have it all. It was a lovely, nice attacking brand of football. Obviously a great spectacle, and obviously the club football, I think it should get a lot more credit than it gets. I know TG Carr do unbelievable work, but I think the club game, I wouldn't like to say it's a dying art, but I think the games we did see were just sensational. So the game itself, Paul, ideal preparation for Croke Park in a couple of weeks' time, and to get over the line against a very, very strong St. Finbarr's team. You're a happy man leaving Portlaoise.
Oh, we were very very happy leaving Portlaoise, and again, like Finbars did target areas that maybe we weren't as strong in. So every game you're learning something from it, and what personally as a team and as an individual, what you could do better or how you could get involved in the game more. Like because like, they were getting at us very very strongly down the middle and cutting into frees and stuff like that there. So listen, if you don't learn anything from a game of football about yourself and your team, then there's something badly wrong. But definitely, like as you said, it was perfect preparation coming in to play Croke Park and All Ireland final day.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously moving on to Croke Park against Kilmacud Crokes. This is probably obviously the business end of things. This we talk about why we play football. The Croke Park All Ireland Club final day, but the one thing I had to say about this year's final, like moved away from St Paddy's Day, so I'd love to try and get that back because I think like obviously you didn't care at the point, but I think from a spectator point of view, it would have been great having on Paddy's Day. But look, a great day against Kilmacud Crokes. It went extra time and. Minus Paul Mannion, so I suppose obviously it's worth reading into the game too much, but obviously hearing the news, maybe Mannion not playing, but it was obviously going to be a seriously strong test, Paul.
Oh yeah, like watching Kilmacud, just even whenever we weren't playing, you could see that it's so much pace, so much experience, players all over the field that could score, and even whenever Mannion was playing, they kind of lent towards him to get the scores for him, which he's an unbelievable footballer. But I felt like watching whenever he wasn't playing, they were still a strong team.
Yeah.
And they played probably more as a team rather than depend on Paul so much. So I felt like a lot of their scores came from different areas of the field. While whenever Paul was playing, it was more or less he was doing most of the scoring for them. So it gave a lot of their players, maybe 4 or 5 of their players, stepped up to the plate and kind of took the onus to say, listen, Paul's not playing, we need to step up to the mark. And to be fair, like watching the games back and everyone, like they had players who did step up a bit, and they were very, very formidable side, like in all areas of the field. Like they were. We looked to see where we could target, and there was no specific area you could say because they were so strong in all areas, and it just shows like even their bench was so strong. Like there had players who replaced. Like there's not too many teams could get to the Ireland final and lose Paul Mannion and still do it. So it just shows that their squad was so strong.
The week lead into that game, Paul, obviously, like, we all know about Croke Park, the hollowed surface that it is, big days like that, playing in front of your family, your friends, absolutely everyone, Paul. As we keep referencing, this is why you play football, but that is exactly why you play football, to represent your club, especially to be in Croke Park. I know, obviously, the amount of fans that can be at them particular sort of games, but look, they're proud days for yourself, Paul, and obviously to go up the steps in Hogan Stand is really the icing on top of the cake.
Yeah, it is a big occasion, especially for a small club like ourselves, and you kind of have to be a bit cold-hearted going into them games because at the end of the day, have to think about the performance and only the performance only. If you start thinking outside the box about different things and about the crowd and the stadium itself, then you're off your ball as such. So we did want to focus on the performance and putting in as best ones we can. And I knew if we did that, we wouldn't be far away. But listen, if there's anything that could have went wrong, it went wrong first in the first half, and we did have an uphill battle in the second half. But listen, sometimes in games you need that wee bit of luck, and on that day we did find that wee bit of luck that got us over the line.
The game itself, Paul, obviously was a ding-dong battle, as a lot of people say. Kilmacud, in fairness to themselves, had a great journey, much like yourselves, really did a serious journey, Leinster final. They really went through hell and high water to get to the promised land. But Paul, the game itself, like, it was, like, obviously it was a good brand of football. And obviously the circumstances in which you did win it, you sneaked it at the death. It was a great wee finish by Mr. Johnson. We all know about his goal prowess. So, you know, the game itself, Paul, like, you know, what was it like to be involved in high intensity, you know, basically like an All-Ireland final? Like, as I've talked to players before, you just need to be constantly on it. So it's high pressurized stuff, Paul.
Oh, it is, and like it's a lonely place out in Croke Park whenever things aren't going your way, and we found ourselves in that wee spot in terms of first 20 minutes of the game, and Bertie Kilmacud, they were putting their foot on the throat. They were coming at us, and they're very efficient off the field. They were getting their scores, and the more we forced things, the more they were able to counteract on it. And it probably wasn't until start of second half, Michael Rooney obviously cleared that ball from the goal. Yeah. I think that was probably the turning point for us to say, listen, it's either we wake up here or else the game's gone from us. So from that, you kind of seen that started more hits around the middle and maybe trying to draw them into us a wee bit. And then lucky enough, with Nat Kane's goal in the net, that kind of sparked us up to say, listen, we can do this. And before you know it, there was only 3 points in it after that goal. So the game was just only really starting on for us from then.
Did Niall mean it?
He claimed he meant it. He still claims that he scored it anyway.
Brilliant stuff. And yeah, Paul, like in the means in which you did win it, like the goal at the very, very death, like we talk about moments, we talk about, you know, stories, dreams of how to win a game of football. Croke Park, in front of your players you grew up playing with, in front of your family members, the supporters. No better way to win a Paul.
And to be honest, coming in whenever we got the draw, we kind of thought there was more in the legs. See that they were maybe cramping a wee bit at the start of extra time, but like, extra time, you know yourself, John, like you're afraid of making a mistake because you could be the one that maybe leads them to get a score. And in extra time, I think it was maybe only 1 or 2 each, and in the first half of extra time. So like we were very, very reluctant to take a mistake because they were such a good team that if you were able to give them the ball, it was going to be so hard to get it back off them unless they forced a turnover. So I felt that it was very safe mode in the first half of extra time, and then obviously they went one ahead in the second half extra time. You kind of thought with the 2 up, you're not going to get there, but a wee bit of magic from young Shane. He actually gone your boy down the wing and played a lovely ball into his 2 brothers there for the goal chance, and you're in dreamland then from there.
Yeah, no, 100%, Paul. And when the goal goes in, it's just pure and utter relief, I'd imagine, because the game was absolutely tight. So when that goal goes in, relief, you're just thinking, right, you know, let's just see out the game, whatever happens after this, and just get that final whistle blue. Final whistle goes, Paul. Jubilation.
Oh yeah, it was mad. Just even just to share the moments with the players on the field, like you grew up with all your life. And like I remember watching Michael Dar Macaulay's the documentary on AG4, and I was just listening into it, and like about all the medals that he won, he said in an interview that the one that he won with his club was the one that actually meant the most to him.
Yeah.
And that was obviously before we obviously played the Ireland final, and it just kind of stood to me as if like this guy's won a lot. He's won 6 All-Irelands, and that one sticks out in his mind. So it showed me the appreciation from winning that all players hold it in the highest regard, and I'm just so happy that we were able to get over the line. But the celebrations on the field with boys and different players and emotion shown, and it was seeing. It was something that I'll never forget, and it just makes every yard and every training session you've done all your life worth it to get up them steps.
And obviously, kind of tell me about the emotion, Paul, because obviously he's got there 2020 Corfin. We know about the powerhouse the Corfin football is. Maybe it's quieting down a bit, but I could be eating my words now in a couple of months, but we'll wait and see. But, you know, getting over the line, like looking around Croke Park, seeing the friends and family, the lads you played football with all your life, getting over the line, lifting the Anti-American Cup, Paul, like you see a lot of dark days, maybe like there could be tragedies within the club, family members, all this kind of crack, Paul. So it's for them, but like it really is such a special feeling, and it's really just a receipt for all the work he's put in.
Oh yeah, and you're sitting on the pitch or standing on the pitch after the whistle, and you're looking in the crowd, and you're seeing grown men crying because they probably never thought they'd see this day or ever dreamt of seeing a day like this for the club. And it's them men who actually was the coaches of us growing up, and you could see how much it meant to them. It more or less probably meant more to them than it did to us at that moment in time, because like they were crying, couldn't wait to see us, or hugging us, and it's for those men and even the men that went before us. And like we've now put Cork on the map, and we're the first team in Cork to win All Ireland for a club. So we've left a legacy, and we left history for the club, and it's just jubilation to see everybody there. I don't think there was a person left in Cork. I'd say every candle in the chapel was lit before they left Cork that day.
There wasn't a sheep sheared for a week, a month, maybe a year, who knows. And obviously, Paul, we have to talk about. I know we kind of touched on Mickey Moran at the start, but Mickey Moran's moment at the end, just walking up to where the goal was scored, and kissing the hollow turf that is Croke Park, a special moment for him. And by God, he deserved it, Paul.
He did, and I've seen some of the videos after All Ireland, and whenever the final whistle went, and it just typifies Mickey to me. Like after the whistle went, before he even celebrated, he just walked down to console the manager, obviously, of Kilmacud.
Yeah.
It just showed what type of man he was. Like he didn't want to showboat in front of them out of respect, and he was just so humble in the way he approaches things, and he kept himself well out of the way whenever the presentation was happening.
Yeah.
He just deserves everything that came to him, because he's a man.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously, when the trophy was being lifted, Conor Gilligan literally made sure of Mickey Moran to go up, and Mickey obviously went up the steps, lifted the trophy. So let's talk about maybe Mickey and Conor Gilligan's kind of influence on the team, because like, is it good cop, bad cop? Are they on the same wavelength? I know Conor does the media work. So what's the relationship like, Paul?
Conor Feeds, he's a Duracell, I would call him. Like he's always buzzing the training, and he's always like, if you do something so well, I always find if I'm doing something so well, he'd always say but. Like he'd always say, like
not worse.
He's always pushing you to the limits. There's no, he's satisfied with you, but he knows there's more you can do to improve your game and such. And that's what I like about him. Obviously, he's been there, he's won the line with his club. Like he can't question his experience and what needs to be done or how to do it. But he does bring that wee element to the forward line in terms of being creative and playing something different, because you're going to be coming up against opponents who know you as well as you know yourself, as such, with the amount of games that have been televised and players are analysing you. So you have to be on your toes to try different things. And he's always forward, and he's always wanting you to be interlinking with the players and in terms of being more creative and how you work goals and work out scores and how to break down defence. So for him as a forwards kind of coach, he's very good in that sense. He's brilliant for us the last couple of years, and definitely I'm glad he stayed on, because the young ones coming in to learn so much from him.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously he's staying on. He's going to work, which is this year, obviously after Mickey Moran leaving. So you're obviously delighted that Connor's staying about.
Yeah, I am definitely, and even Richie Thornton came in last year, just like a fresh voice coming in the setup, and he pushed the boundaries to a different level from where we were. He demands nothing but 100% from Richie, and a lot of players have utmost respect for him, because like he provided so much to the club whenever he came in. Like, and we thought we could do no more after the All Ireland year. Again, Corfin, we kind of thought, like, what more can we do? We've give it our all, and he did push out the boundaries. Just that maybe extra 1 or 2% that maybe we needed to get over the line. I felt that he was the kind of man that definitely helped us do that in terms of his expertise that he brought to us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously, going down the road down to Kilcoo after bringing down the Andy-American Cup, obviously celebrations I'd just say they're absolutely sensational now. I'd say they're probably still be ongoing, but I think you need some time to rest. So what was it all like, Paul? I'd just say it was absolutely sensational.
The journey down the road and the bus home was just as exciting as anything else. The boys on the bus, the track, the players themselves, just talking and probably just having that moment with them, just to talk about the game and just remembering them memories together, because like it's probably our last journey home on the bus that group of players would be together, because obviously there's retirement stuff like that there. So it was good. It was good that journey down the bus, and obviously you're coming to the small village for cricket. There was cars was lined up down the lane, and you go down the pitch, and it was just surreal, just the support that we've had throughout the year. And over the years, like the Kilcoo do have such a good following, and even in league games and challenge games, you're seeing people down at the field supporting us, and maybe a little lashing out the heavens, and they're still standing supporting us.
Yeah.
But like people always say, success breeds success. Like we normally having training sessions on the bottom field, coming up to All Ireland, even before the Ulster final and that, and our bottom pitch is lit up, and on the top field there's a wee bit of light change on the top field.
Yeah.
And you had the parents leaving their young ones down to the pitch at that time, and they would have a wee sheer of the light coming from the bottom field onto the top field, and you just see a full-on match with maybe 14, 15, 20 young fellas playing, and then we normally get a wee bit of protein milk after training, and after they see us finish training, they come down.
Yeah.
We just give them the protein milk.
Brilliant, yeah.
Here's coming down, lads, because like yourself, at the end of the day, we're doing so well, but you still want us to keep the conveyor belt going, and see them lads coming down and watching us train, and even up the top field in pure darkness playing a match.
Yeah.
Listen, we're obviously having an effect on the young ones nowadays in Kilcoo.
Have to ask about Darrow Hanlon, Paul. He's been absolutely cursed with luck. He had to call his career to an end at the tender age of 28, just due to injuries, Paul. So he's obviously missed out on the big All Ireland success. He was there, he was celebrating witches, but curse her luck. But that's sport, that's injuries, Paul.
To be fair, like whatever the things that happened are, you have to have the respect for his resilience to keep coming back, and we were never delayed to see him come back. It was 2020, the COVID year, we had a championship, and he came back and he came on and started getting born and playing so well, and we were just so delayed that he came over his injuries and stuff like that there, and then obviously get hit again. Like he just showed, like he's so resilient, he's so much confidence, and he's so positive on his outlook and things, and for him to be part of All Ireland, I was so happy to see him on the field and celebrating with the boys, because he's been there from the very start. Like he's played throughout, like that team that got to Ireland. He was a formidable player for us, and he was a big miss, and he was a hole that we first couple of years we couldn't find the replacement, but Brian McAvoy's come in there full back and done so well. But Dar's been such a good servant to the club. Like I remember we would always go down. He was a free taker as well. We'd always be down maybe an hour before training, or the off nights come down hitting frees, and he was always wanting to be perfection and everything that he done. And listen, and I know Connor took him down on his 20 squad and coaching there, and he's down with the underage coaching as well. So he's Kilcoo man at heart, and all he wants is the best for Kilcoo. And he was never negative in terms of anything that he was wanting the players to do well. But it was such a tough battle that he came through now, and listen, I was so happy to see him on the pitch at the end of the day. He shared the experience with us.
And I suppose a word on that, Paul, as well. Like it just does go to show we all need to cherish when we're playing the game, because anything could happen. You could get injured, you could become unwell, absolutely anything, Paul. So like you hear lads saying, "Oh, I don't fancy it tonight," or "I'm not arse," probably for want of a better word. So we really need to cherish the days we play, Paul.
Yeah, I always say at the Lavery as well. I says, like the league started there last week, and I says, you know what? Why would you not want to play at the end of the day? Something could happen. You never know what's around the corner. You might be out for a couple of months. And at the end of the day, like you train to play. You don't train just to sit along the line and stuff like that, or pick your games as such. Football, I get so much enjoyment out of, and taking part in and playing it. So it's your love for the game that you want to play. Like in my eyes, I always any opportunity to play, I always find you play because I'm guaranteed in life.
Yeah, no, 100%. It'd be great. And I suppose even last thing on that, I suppose it'd be so important to kind of pipe around that message to even the kind of young lads thinking maybe quitting or packing it in, or even lads that's even involved in club teams, county teams. Because Paul, I really do think Darragh O'Hanlon is a perfect example of lads trying to prolong their career or just go back at it. Because don't get me wrong, I know there can be lack of interest, things can happen, but if a lad's 50-50, I really think they should look at Darragh O'Hanlon's situation.
Oh, definitely, and like listen, the doors opened up himself in terms of like anybody who is struggling or in terms of injury stuff like that, there to get in contact with him as such, because Dar does give it like a good outlook in terms of Gaelic, and there's nothing more than Dar would want is to play an odd game for the few seniors because just his love for the game, and there's a lot of people out there like who's had serious injuries, but they love the game that they kept involved with, and there's always something there in the GAA because it's so tight community and like a family in terms of that, and they're always there for each other. But at the same time, like there's opportunities in the coaching, management. There's always something in terms of GA that you can help out in. So like Dar's first man that has provided that, and he loves and breathes it now as well. Like he just loves the coaching. I see him down there coaching young. Listen, he's fine as we face in GA now that he can obviously provide his expertise and what his outlook in the game is now.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. It's great to see him. So spreading the gospel now that he can't soldier on anymore, Paul. And I suppose, kind of looking back into it, he is such an inspirational player. Like losing the likes of Darren. Like you were talking about maybe like lads maybe leave the palace. Is there any retirements for the year ahead, or is it full deck of cards?
There's a few boys there that stepped away for their own reasons. I prefer not let any of them go because you're 17, you have some comedians and some jokers about the sport.
Yeah.
Some of them boys were actually the jokers in that and being the loudest in the field. So like every player brings something to training sessions, whether it's a joke or a bit of crack or something like that. You always want that there. But listen, the conveyor belt keeps going, boys move on, and you kind of have to keep going yourself, and you find yourself not at the young end of the table anymore. You're coming towards the latter end of your career. So listen, them boys that they got the All-Ireland medal, and I'd say they'd be happy to retire with that now with the equipment they've shown to the club.
And is there any big names or from the starting 15?
No, we're starting to anybody that kind of participated in the All-Ireland final have all stayed on, which
okay.
To see, yeah.
Oh, perfect. That's good. Good to full deck of cards for the year ahead then. So obviously just kind of touching briefly on county matters. Obviously Down are going through probably a period of transition at the minute. James McCartan has gone back with Down, and there's kind of during the week there's kind of a bit of unrest, I suppose, with James McCartan's future. So I suppose the future of Down football at the minute, Paul.
Yeah. A lot of people have asked me about Down football and stuff like that. If you ask anybody in Down what's Down club football like, they'll probably say it's probably the best it's ever been. But I feel it's just transferring that into the county scene is probably the thing that's the problem at the minute. Like there's so much talent and young ones. Like the under-20s won the Ulster title there last year, and there's so much players that haven't maybe participated in Down, and they say that they can't get their best players out for Down. I don't know what the reasons were behind it. But like James did have a tough job maybe coming in at the latter stage of last year to try and get the show on the road before the McKenna Cup and National League, which it's a tough task, especially whenever there were speculations of other management teams getting involved and maybe him thinking he's not the first one, he's maybe second or third, whatever it may be. But things just didn't really click in terms of the National League and the games that they probably should have won kind of thing, rather than whenever they lost. It's hard to take for Down now, the Down supporters, so it's hard to even watch Down being unsuccessful stuff because you can see the talent and you go watch league games throughout Down and on a Friday night. How can these boys not participate on match days?
Yeah, no, it is definitely disappointing to see, Paul. And we were kind of talking off air, like Cav and Down rich football counties. Like I know obviously we won the Ulster title in 2020, but before that, Paul, we probably weren't getting the success that we probably weren't and deserved. So probably both similar enough wavelengths to a degree. Obviously we're out of Division 4 now, thank God, but we really do need to see a strong down, Paul. I know he's had an All-Ireland appearance in 2010 and a few Ulster appearances since that. So Paul, it really is so essential that, you know, down football does get strong again.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to look at maybe at the youth structure of the boys coming in development squads, and maybe if we can, maybe that's where it's lacking. The boys maybe not wanting to play for them development squads and such, because at the end of the day, they're going to be playing again at a competition in terms of other counties, and I feel that there's that much talent down. It's just more or less getting the buy into the same, into something that all of them believe in, and sing off the same hymn sheet. Because whenever you have that in any team so far and have that belief, and I just feel that maybe that's what's lacking at the minute. And obviously you want your best players stepping out for down, and sometimes I feel that maybe that isn't the case.
Yeah, and you believe James McCartney's the right man to take the journey forward, because obviously we did see him get to the All-Ireland final in 2010 with this down team, so surely he's the right man to get that project going.
He has that experience and he has the know-how. He's a player himself. He knows what it takes to get to them high levels. So I'm sure the lead up to the Moran game in a couple of weeks, he'll do his best to have his team best prepared for the task ahead. And listen, down turned Moran over a couple of times. Years gone by, it seems to be Gavin's or Monaghan's boogie team for me. I always feel that down always won well in championship, so hope to do that again Monaghan as well.
Yeah, and do you feel there's kind of enough time for the Monaghan game? Like it's going to be a couple of weeks' time, and obviously Monaghan had a relatively good league campaign, and you know, probably up and down league campaign. So Paul, like, do you feel there's enough time to kind of prepare for that game? Do you think James can rally the troops?
I think that probably the players and probably themselves that didn't perform in the league, and there's obviously one big performance in them, I feel, and if they can get again Monaghan, like, who actually wants to play well on championship day? Like, there's nobody wants to turn out on the pitch the first 15, 20 players, whoever's going to play. There's not one of them players want to play bad, so hopefully the Down can get everything sorted out and play the best they can. And if they do that, then you put your hand up and say, listen, they give it their all, and if they give it all, you can't really.
Yeah, no, 100%. It'd be great to see strong down again, Paul. And a general prediction for the Ulster Championship, because it's an absolute minefield at the minute. We see Rio O'Neill's clear to play against Donegal, so that's going to be huge for Armagh. You could be looking at Monaghan, you could be looking at Tyrone. There's so much to play for, Paul. So, general prediction for Ulster?
Ulster Championship, it's hard to know. Like, you've Derry, you're going so well in Division 2, and only maybe Galway pimping there in the last game.
Mine is Kieran McFall now too, yeah.
And McFall stepped away. Like, I feel Derry are so strong whenever they get everybody stripped out. And don't know, Derry, just that last game against Galway, I kind of fancied them to win Ulster this year. I know they always were heavy reliant on Shane McGuigan to provide their scores, but I feel if they can get their scores from different forwards, you're kind of thinking maybe they could do something. But Armagh does stick out in my head with their league campaign this year, and obviously Ryan's such a massive player for them, and a relief that he obviously got off for the championship game. But don't know. I feel that Monaghan's played well in the league. Obviously turned over Dublin at the end of that game. Maybe they're on the good side of the draw. You could see them getting to an Ulster final. But I fancy probably outside. I'd probably go Armagh, Derry maybe to get an Ulster.
There we go. I suppose, are you happy and are you impressed by the standard of county football at the minute, Paul? Because we see so many calls for change and get the championship sorted. It's going to be the first year of the Tailteann Cup. The All-Ireland final is going to be July this year, Paul. So are you happy with proceedings at the minute?
Yeah, I feel it's I feel that the teams at the top of Division 1 and Division 2, that they are so competitive. The league structure, I think, it's so well in the level of competition. It's so equal across all levels. But then you go into the Sam Maguire and the championship. Also, I'm glad they kept Ulster and the provincial championship.
They needed to, yeah.
The only problem that I feel is whenever they're relegated from their Ulster campaign and they're not in Sam Maguire and they're in the second tier competition, it's how serious teams take it, because you know yourself, whenever you're not in the Sam Maguire, you're thinking, what is it to play for, and is the players going to buy into this Tailteann Cup? That's just taken, yeah. Because that's going to be prolong maybe till July as well? And will players commit or will they step away from it? Listen, we don't know because this is the first year doing it, but that's the one concern I maybe have of because you're looking there thinking down, we're trying to push to get into the Sam Maguire. Now you're thinking if they lose the Ulster campaign, are they going to take it serious? Are the boys going to commit as much as they did if they were in Sam Maguire?
That's my point, yeah.
Those are the questions that I would probably say about it. That's the only thing, but in my eyes, it's probably the best thing in terms of taking an equal playing field for teams who are down in the lower divisions, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was making I was making a point on a podcast there during the week, just saying that county teams, they set off to start of the year, they look at the Anchor Cup, they look at like the All Ireland kind of series, and that's why you play. So I was kind of making the point, like, does it kind of make a bit of a verse of the situation? Like, if you are knocked out of the Ulster campaign, America comes knocking, you might step away, you might do something else, Paul. So I suppose keeping players about for the Tolta Cup, that'll be important too.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest point. That's probably the biggest aspect that they have to take on board. And is the media just going to be as strong for that competition as it is for Sam Maguire and that, or are they going to get certain things done the way all things are done, maybe TV games and stuff like that? There's a lot of things that come into it, and if it is on the same level playing field as what the Sam Maguire would be, then it could be a success. But like we spoke there, the terms of them aspects, it all depends because we haven't really experienced it. This is the first year of it.
Will Kerry win, Sam?
Kerry, I think they're in pole position at the minute, but there's other teams there, like they're writing off Dublin. No, Dublin got relegated, but can't write off Dublin as such. Like, it depends how they get on Leinster, and before you know it, they're sitting on Ireland semi-final. So
yeah,
it's hard to know. But at the minute, I'd say Kerry with the ground of football they're playing and some of the personnel they have on their team is just exciting to watch. Paying a fee alone to watch David Clifford on his own, it'd be worth it.
Not bad, is he, Paul?
He's good to watch now for such a young fella. He's high expectation and he carries himself so well on it and everything that he does.
Yeah, Paul, 100%. It's going to be an exciting year ahead. I suppose. Very last question. You love me for asking you this. So far, who'd be the toughest player you played against and the best player you played with?
Not many players that have marked me that they got the better of me. It's hard to get that one. The toughest player that I've marked. Some of the toughest players marked has actually been in-house games from the club, like the Brannigans. If anybody's ever had the chance to run after them boys, they'd understand how competitive they are and everything they do.
Explain if you can at all. Explain the boot situation. Was it Darryl Brannigan with the Adidas boot and the Nike boot?
Eugene, yeah,
and the skins.
He's a joker in the pound, to be honest. He brings the crack, but no, I think he just lost a bit and he had nothing else. He was on a rush out of the house, so he just took it, and then lucky enough
lucky charm.
He played well that day, and he played well the skins on one day. So he probably superstition to say, listen, I played well in this year, I don't want to change anything. So
yeah.
In All Ireland final, we obviously got new gear and stuff like that there, and new shorts.
Yeah.
We were saying we were new shorts, but he was that he was superstitious. He kept the old shorts on. He was the only player in the team that kept the old shorts on.
Brilliant.
Now he's saying, listen, lads, I kept the old shorts on. I got player of the match. So you can't fault him for it at the same time, like. But he rushed out of the house and he couldn't find his all boots, so he just said, listen, I'll take this.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant. And I thought the boot supply down Kilcoo were down or something. I don't know. Like, was there lack of boots being sent down to the Moran county? But so, what do you think of the best and toughest?
I'd say probably keep it. Probably Arn or Darryl Brannigan actually in 10. Definitely, they're probably one of the toughest guys marked.
Best player you played with? Yeah.
Played with a couple of the players that I played with played university and obviously with Down. Danny Coulter, Conor Lavery, some of them boys. I can remember playing along with Molly Donnelly and Jordan Jamie Clark. Playing with them boys just to see their movement and stuff like that there. But whenever you're on club, like playing along with Conor Lavery and his movement, and actually Jerome Johnson as well, and like with Marty Clark was good to play with too. Like there's a number of boys that you're playing with thinking never thought, like, I remember growing up watching Danny Coates play and actually being able to play with them and him playing inside and me kind of play a ball into him. Like, it's things you dream of as a young kid because you're standing watching him and then end up you're playing alongside him. So that experience was
super stuff. Paul Devlin, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgaretcha.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on orgaretcha.com. I get the best skins, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. If you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe on YouTube because support's been absolutely brilliant so far. Paul, thanks a million and have a great weekend.
You too, John. Have a good Easter.
Cheers, bud.